Hello my brothers and sisters of the Order, welcome back to the Order. I'm Celtic Templar, and today y'all we are actually talking about this new weapon. This is our 14th century Italian warhammer. Now it's made from the pica, its overall length is 25 inches, weight is like a pound and 11.7 ounces, as well its width in the head is 5 1/4 of an inch, so yeah, that's actually a pretty good length. Now, maybe you might wonder, Templar, are you going to be doing an armor test? Yes. Now, I want to put a little bit historical backstory on these type of weapons. Warhammers, if we understand them, many people don't realize what they are, and every time when people hear the term warhammer, they automatically think of something like, well, from fantasy, like that. And when we think about it, warhammers are, well, generally a one-handed to two-handed style weapon, depending on its model. However, when people start thinking of warhammer, they automatically think of a two-handed style weapon that's meant for, well, that. Which people automatically start thinking that my pole hammer is a warhammer. No, that's actually a pole hammer. Huge difference between the two. Now, this model, if you all know what it is, this is the infantry or cavalry style type of warhammer, which these type of warhammers are weird in general. The reason I say weird in general is because, one, sometimes the cavalry style, yes, cavalry style warhammers were meant to be longer. In other words, they would have a elongated pole, which means it was perfect for said cavalry hits. But they would later on also be used by infantry. However, mostly one-handed style would actually sometimes be, well, one-handed, and it'd be slightly smaller. But there are different variations. But mostly those that actually were used for, well, everyday infantry models would have a spike on top, which does make a good example. However, warhammers in general would have a lasting effect, pretty much from the, well, some historians state by the 13th century, some say, which I don't think that's true. Most people also say probably around till the, I want to say 12th century, which does not make any sense because there's no evidence to prove it. However, 13th century maybe, but that's a big maybe. But mostly by the late period. However, though, by the 14th century, there is more evidence that proves it. And as such, though, these would last pretty much up until the English Civil War, and then by then the head would have been extended and the, well, crow's beak would have also been extended outward. Would this have been powerful enough? Maybe. But the thing is, these weapons were generally one of the type of weapons that you would use as a force shock trauma impact. In other words, it's kind of like this. If you were to use a mace, for example, with the same weight in that, you would normally get it a completely different type of impact. For example, it kind of be like viewing an axe only in the form of a hammer. So in other words, if we were to get like an axe head just like this, it would technically cause the same amount of damage, only a little different of a imagery. In other words, the power in it would be heavy enough and strong enough to cause an impact blow, like a punch, not like a slap like you would get with a mace. So yes, warhammer is a punch, mace is a slap. So yeah. Now, another thing I want to put this out here is also the fact this thing also has a butt spike. We are not going to be using this because, one, this is made out of wood. And in fact, the wooden butt spike would not be used on metal, it would actually be used on the face. In other words, say like I'm fighting against somebody, and here's the thing, we're in close quarters combat, I grab him like this, but guess what, he can still just do this to my face, and I'm technically going to go blind. So I'd rather not. Because yeah, it's like this, 1, 2, 3, and 2, he can easily just lift it up like this, and even if I block his arm, he's still gonna get at me. So this is just pure devastation weapon. Now it can be used as a two-handed weapon, but it's also mostly been used as a one-handed weapon because of the sheer power and ferocity it has just from the impact alone. So, why don't we get right into that testing, shall we? Alright, y'all. Now, if y'all remember our testing with our pole hammer did very nicely on the said helmet. Now, what we're going to do, though, is kind of the same thing, except first we're going to start out with one hand, then we're going to start off with two hands. Now, first we're going to do it with the downward hit, the side hit, and then we're going to switch to the crow's beak. So, why don't we get right into it? Mostly with the first we shall do is with the single hand hit. So, let's see what happens. I don't know if that did any damage. Ooh, it did some damage. No, it really fucked up our Warhammer. I don't know what the hell Depico's doing. I don't even think this thing's gonna even do any damage. Yeah, it's just denting up the part of the hammer. I don't think they hardened the steel on the top. Now these marks are new, but that's about it. Let's try the spike. I'm almost afraid this thing's gonna come back at me. Ooh! We got ourselves a new head. Problem is, it also dented in the head. So let's try the side. Oh, yes! Just what I thought. I was wondering if this was going to happen, but it seemed it finally did. We finally got through the helmet. Our 14 gauge steel now has a huge hole in it. So now, let's go right to the two-handed side, which I think is going to do a little more damage. Well, it dented it in, but it also fucked up our head. So in other words, this part of the head should probably be a little bit less used, I guess. Nah. Let's try it where we got a good spot. Well, it dented it in very good. Right about there is where we hit. So it just messed it up really good there. So now, let's go to the war spike. Well, it made another good hole, but it's really messing up our metal. Okay, let's try a side, and that will pretty much be it for that. And no, I am not using this wooden butt spike. I think I might have messed up on that one. Huh. Don't know if I'm making any damage. Let's try a new area. Honestly, the side attack is not doing as much as I thought. But yeah, we now got two new holes because of our war spike. 1 and 2. It's also, but our head is really messed up now. Look at that. That is not normal what it looks like. It's just folded in the metal. Same with the part of the head. So Depico really messed up on this one. Alright, I hope you liked that part of the video. Now, as I said, our head got severely damaged. We got bending here, right, literally, it's like this sticking out down this way. And the head, it's this turned into a flattened mush. Look at her, I don't know if y'all can see that, I'm trying to get in the frame. But it's just flattened now. That is actually kind of hilarious. So my best bet is that Depico didn't make this properly enough, However, we have heard some weird accounts that Warhammers were tending to do this if the metal thickness wasn't thick enough. So, probably somebody didn't put enough thickness in the metal, so it can easily be still used. And in such, it did do its job on our Viking helmet, especially the spike. Now, we did have a couple of potmark protrusions in our Viking helm, like we did with our pole hammer, but the power in this was powerful enough that it caused two holes, like one there, and one of the major ones right there. Now, I can't stick my finger through it, but I can literally feel the hole, and yeah, that is razor sharp, so I'm not going to stick it any further. Literally, you could feel it like it's like right there. Comparing that to the other pot marks, especially the fact our the crow's beak on our pole hammer didn't do this much damage, nor did our hammer end. So that's saying something of how dangerous this one-handed weapon is. Now, another thing I also like to point out is the fact that this one came in me a little odd, because one, it looked a little crooked to me. Yeah, it kind of looks a little crooked. I know, that doesn't make any sense. All in all, though, it did its job, even though we had bad metal. Still, though, that metal did its job at punching a hole straight through our helmet. Now, it did dent it up a little bit, but still, though, this thing did enough damage. Because, look, this is actually where the head hit, like that. And it's like there, right in there, like, boom. So this thing did enough damage. Though, not as much damage as I thought it. It did a lot more damage than I thought it would. But the hammer part did not do as much damage as I thought it would. In fact, when I thought it was going to do a lot of damage, I thought it was going to be somewhat near identical to our pole hammer. It was not. So, yeah. But still, though, I will use this, hopefully, in a later run. Though I do need to fix up these parts on the hammer. Especially also with the spike, because that protrusion is slightly off now. So, yeah, my best bet, it might have been made out of poor quality iron. Or steel, or whatever they pronounced it as. Because this hammer seems a little off. Now, I don't know if any of y'all know how bad that is. It kind of be like, well, getting hit, well, bitch slapped by your, the blunt end of your sword, or in this case, the, it can kind of be like using the, well, the flat part of the blade of your sword, rather than the blade of your sword. In other words, take my axe, for example. Like, say if I just whopped you like that, it would hurt, but not as much as it would with the blade. Still though, I'm going to put this out here. This weapon did do its job, though I think I probably should have tried it best with this helmet and seen what happened, because this is actually a slightly weaker 14 gauge steel. Or maybe harder, I don't know, because this is lighter than this Viking helm. But the major reason, I think, because the Viking helm is heavier is because it has all this extra reinforcement. But our Viking helm is so messed up now, it is starting to warp in many parts of the helmet. Still, though, I do have to appreciate the fact that our Warhammer did its job to the fully extent. Now, I hear many people already asking, Templar, why didn't you just hit him in the nasal guard? Well, one, it's kind of hard to aim something with a spike. The hammer, seeing what it just did, I don't think it's going to do anything to the said faceplate. So, yeah. Still, though, I have to put this out here. There is one major thing we have to understand, is that Viking helms were tough as well, but that Warhammer did its job, and we can see why, when it came to fighting, Warhammers were probably the major weapon on the battlefield rather than a mace. Especially by the time of the 100 Years' War, when we started to see more and more of Warhammers being used. Mainly because this is an easy-to-craft weapon, and most of the time it works just like a mace head or an axe head, just plop, planted down on the said wooden shaft, put some extra reinforcement, and there you go. Now, I don't know if they would have sharpened this and such, but it would make sense. Now, I have seen an example in, I want to say, a European type combat system, that it does show a metal spike on the protrusion of the bottom. Now, this is only when it comes to historical fighting. In other words, the historical text on how they would have used this weapon. But the thing is, I would actually expect them probably to put a metal head on the bottom, just in case if there is somebody who is wearing a faceplate, so you can still just jab at them, instead of just walloping them. Now, I want to put this out here. This thing actually was extremely light. Just moving it is easy. Though, I do have to be worried about the fact of using this thing, because it is light and it is dangerous. So, yeah. However, it was a lot more badass looking when I compiled the box, because now this is going to take a while to fix. But, anyways guys, hopefully you liked this video. Like and subscribe for more. If you want me to do any type of reviews in history, please let me know in the comments below. I will be happy to get right into those weapons, especially quickly. Anyways guys, it's been Celtic Templar. Hopefully see y'all in the next one. Have a great day.